Welcome back to 100 Lies the God Culture teaches about the Philippines. Once more the subject is the Lequios Islands. Timothy J. Schwab claims that the Lequouis Islands is the Philippines and that in an old Spanish document they are described as big, bearded white men. As we shall see, it is another lie. In Solomon's Gold Part 6, Tim says,
according to Colección General de Documentos Relativos a las Islas Filipinas, you might need to correct our Spanish there. Document number 98. The Lequouis were big, bearded, and white men. They were only interested in gold and silver when trading at Ophir. General Legazpi wrote, the ships of the Lequouis were always laden with gold and silver, thus targets of the Spanish. These are big, bearded white men, the Phoenicians. In other words, Hiram, king of Tyre, which was part of Phoenicia, whom King Solomon hired to sail to Ophir to get gold and other resources. So, if these distinctive-looking men came to your land, might you remember them? Yep. Might you name an island after them and their trade? Perhaps. They are the Lequouis, in which Luzon is named because that was the capital of Ophir, where the Lequouis lived and traded. Yet another tie to the story of Solomon, the Queen of Sheba, Ophir, and Tarshish. Imagine that.
In his book The Search for King Solomon's Treasure, Tim says the same thing. The problem is that such a description is never given in the documents to which Tim is referring. Here is a translation of that section which is at the end of the document.
In front of this said China and its lands are many islands to the sea, and beyond these islands is a very large land that they say that it is terra firma, other islands where 3 or 4 junks of white people, who are very large and very rich, came to Malak every year. They bring a lot of gold in rods and silver and silk and a lot of very good wheat and very beautiful porcelain and other merchandise, and they carry a lot of pepper and all the other things that the Chinese sayings carry to those who are called Lequios. Those from Malak say that they are better people than older merchants and richer and more dressed and honored than the Chinese, whose people until now we have no news because they never came to Malak after the Portuguese went there.
Not a word about beards. The Spanish word barba does not show up in the text. Why is that? According to Chinese sources, it's because the Lequios plucked out their beards. They also are described as having deep eyes and long noses. Filipinos do not have long noses. They are also said to observe no hierarchy, which is unlike Philippine society, which is ruled by elders. This designation of the country of Lequio is where the word Lequios originates. It is a place amidst islands to the east of China. The description here is of the Lequios Islands and Formosa, not the Philippines. The Philippines is not even in front of China, it is to the southeast of China. The fact is, Tim did not even bother to read this document. His source for this false information is ancientphilippines.blogspot.com. If you pay attention to Tim's videos, you will see that Tim lifts a huge amount of his so-called research directly from ancientphilippines.blogspot.com. He is on record admitting this.
For a while now, we have used a definition for the Hebrew for this word from Ancient Philippines Blogspot. In the beginning, in fact, we tried to quote local sources. And you'll see in the description box, we mentioned those guys. We also mentioned Bob's blog as well. It's all there. It's been there for 3 years. We've always, given them some credit. And those are worth reading because really, that's where we started with the history portion. We started reading their stuff and then we started branching out from there. Yes, we verified everything that we could, and if there was something that we couldn't verify, such as the gold found in 1st century Egypt as easily, we took it from numerous sources, so we felt pretty good with it and went with it, and turns out it's proving to be fine as a reference. So far, our sources, by the way, check out to be very good.
That admission is absolutely amazing. Tim started his journey by quoting local sources. What does that even mean? A Philippine blog? Why not start with proven academic sources? Because Tim hates academia. Then he says he tried to verify most of what he read online, but if he couldn't verify it he went with it anyway because multiple sources said the same thing. That is not a proper method for doing historical research at all and shows what a total fool this man is. All the errors from those sources he never verified have ended up in his book. Errors such as Documento 98 describing the Lequios as bearded. But let's investigate this Spanish document a little further. Not only are the Lequios people described as being white, but so are the Chinese.
The visitors of this land of China are men of good stature and white and well disposed, and also the women have very small eyes.
Are the Chinese actually Phoenicians? Of course not. Document 98 follows the exact same route as in Duarte Barbosa's book. He describes the Chinese in the same way. He also describes the people of Sola, which is the Sulu archipelago, as being almost white. He even describes the inhabitants of Celebes as being white. Are these people also Phoenicians? Of course not. The point is that the color of these people's skin means absolutely nothing. There are light-skinned and dark-skinned inhabitants in East Asia and in the islands of Southeast Asia. That is no proof they are descendants of King Solomon's navy. As for document number 98, Tim is not telling the truth. At no time does it describe the Lequios people as bearded. But he does not know this because he did not even seek to verify the contents of the document. He is on record saying he took ancientphilippines.blogspot.com and other local sources at face value. That is no way to do history, but it is the way to propagate lies.